Okay.
Who else is tying along with us tonight?
I'm strictly a spectator. Thank you.
Well, John held up, he needed a hoist lift to pick up his coffee table book last week, and he only showed us a picture of it. And so if anybody went to look for Ray Bergman, I think I said it right. I might have said Roy in the email. But
Right.
anyway, if you found it, and then the Blue Dun. So I'm using tonight, I've got a 14. Here's my hook size. I'm still on the wrong camera. Sorry. So it's basically, it's a done pattern. It's great. You can use turkey for your wings, and if folks are on, but this is what hook size I'm using. I've got white thread, of course. And so John, do you have any words of wisdom on this fly?
No, I thought I had my mic off. No, I don't. I've looked at it and I've tied a few myself, but I use Grey Goose as the for the wings. But yeah, you're right. You know, I mean, I think you can use anything you want for the feathers. It's more of a classic wet fly than it is a specific. Just the dubbing is what gives it its name, Blue Dun.
Right. And I think a lot of it too, as far as with, again, trying to figure out, and one of the harder parts on this, and I'm not very good at it, so you guys can watch me struggle as far as with the feathers. And the part of it is like how they move with it. And I actually use this on wings for a dry fly. So we'll see, you know, kind of how it compares. And then obviously open for any comments or any thoughts on any of it. And John, if you can hoist up that book, you can easily show a picture of it or anything. And again, if anybody else is tying along, we'll just kind of walk through the different pieces of it or patterns. So with can you lift it? Don't get a hernia.
Oh God, please
I
no.
gotta go look for it first.
He tried to lift this thing up. He's like, on this page. So and I tend to migrate towards you know, again, with various patterns on this, all of it comes down to proportion. And this is a smaller hook. So on a size 14, we're not using something really big. I have with your tailing portion of it too. You could use your elk on this and absolutely would work. Or you can also just, again, a good hair paintbrush. And you can see I've kind of picked away at some of this just as far as the style on it. And mainly what I like with using the paintbrush version of it, I don't want any extra flair. I don't want anything to do anything kind of out of the norm. So I'm going to measure this out for basically the length of the hook shank, move it back. I've stopped my thread a little bit more up from my hook point. I'm just going to lay that in and come around one time. And then I'm working my way back to secure it in. So pretty tight wraps, keeps the tail nice and together, where if I do a comparison later on, or if we have time, I'll show you, I don't want that flare. I want a really small profile to this, and I want everything to stay together. Come in, cut in my thread. And if you ever watch when I pull all the fibers up, and again, good practices, right? Pull it above, don't try to cut anything underneath, pull it above and cut a little bit at an angle. And you can see that that ramp stays nice and tight. So I can go forward with this, and there's almost very little as far as a bump, right, that goes to the hook shank. On this part of it, and the wing portion of it's going to be added in last. So with this, I'm going to add all the features in and kind of start from the end and go forward, unlike some other flies where we kind of add things as we go and then you can come in and fill it. This part of it with the dubbing, because you guys have watched me 100 times with mixing dubbing and different parts of it. I'm not using a blue or a bluish green or any version of an olive. on this. I'm using rust mostly for the contrast, but you can use anything with this portion of it. You do not need to go, you can use like from your kits, if you've got, you can use a lot of different variations. This one I love as far as the nature spirit. And with this, all it's doing is adding a little bit more bugginess to it. So if I wanted to change up the color, even from what I have already made, here for the rust, you can see I mix a lot of different colors together, and I tend to like a little bit of flash, which the flash typically you can find more of that in the little bags. They go from anywhere from 75 cents to almost $3. They go a mile though, and with this you don't need to dump out the whole thing. You can kind of work it from this, and it's very, very synthetic. It doesn't have any natural fibers to it, but if I like this color and I want to add more, I'm going to sandwich those on top and then just start stacking and pulling to get this where it kind of breaks apart the fibers. It's a little bit easier to work with, and it's fully blended. I do have a coffee grinder, and when I'm making my own, I'll shove it in there. If I have scraps that I want to see how that looks on dubbing, I'll throw it in there. But for just basic on what you want to use, this gives you a better feel. You can pull out any of the unnatural. You can see it was laying on my desk. So every once in a while I pick up a deer hair that I don't want in there, and it gives you just a better feel instead of just pulling it straight out. And with this on the dubbing, this is a very light fly. It's a very light touch. And so I don't need to glob all of this onto my thread. I don't need any wax. I don't need anything. I'm going to pull from the fibers that are out, and I'm going to twist, and I'm just twisting this down, and you can see it gets a little bit thicker, and then I'm going to pull it off, because on this size fly, that's going to be enough. And we can always add more dubbing. It's hard to take it off after you've gotten this rolled on. And so you rub it in and always go kind of the same direction. I'm going to start at this back portion of it, and I'm just starting to layer that up. I want to build up the thorax so it's a little bit more thick in there. And even from this, it's a very thin fly right now. I could add more if I want to. I also know that the body's going to pick up a lot. So when I start to add in the wings, then I'm going to automatically, because of the wraps and because of the different materials in. If you still want more, you could add a little bit. And again, very, very fine touch on this, just a few fibers, twist, and then pull it apart so that this removes it. And then you can come in and you wrap. And I tend to do kind of an X wrap, or just where I'm overlaying one thing to the next. You can add in, you can go single next to each other, but I like to just X wrap. It just gives it a little bit more strength to that. So
Can you see
I'm
that?
about,
Can you see that, Amy?
yep.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Oh, that's yours. I looked up a different picture then. Sorry, John. We'll go to
Okay,
that
no
one
problem.
then next.
There's quite a few of them that are classics, but this is Ray Bergman's. And for those of you that don't know Ray, of course I don't either, but that's Ray Bergman.
Excellent. Well, we'll definitely, I'll cover that, because the one I looked up, John, had where he was using dubbing and then turkey on it.
Yeah.
And then same with the wings. And then he actually adds hackle in. So I don't know, it's still pulled up on a Ray Bergman Blue Dun. But we'll go with your picture next, because these are so this is one of my nemesis for tying. So we got a regular, it's, and I think this is one of the things too, where when there's terms, and it's like, well, marry the feathers. So I've got a regular turkey feather here, and I'm going to pull through. And what I want to do is separate out. And you can see that it actually takes a little bit of tension to pull these apart, right? And then you get a strip that you want to work with. And when you're working from side to side, you can kind of marry those. One might be a little bit different color. On this, when you pull it away from the quill, it actually will stay. Let's see if I do that right. It'll stay together, but see how it stays separated? So a lot like we did with the mayflies even last week, you can come in, you can cut your section. I definitely recommend trying to do it this way, because if these start to get where they're all jumbled up, you're going to have a harder time trying to work through on your feathers with this. You can kind of remove some of your parts on, but you can go back to the sections you want to work with on here, and then separate off what you don't want. And for me, with these kind of wings, what I want to do is now take this section and I almost want to cut it in half. So right there again on the quill, which is much more firm, now I've got something to work with. And as John, and if he pulls back the picture again, with angling these, and when we talk about, you really spend a lot of time trying to line these up. And this is the other thing that we've talked about, of making some of the different, you want them exactly, or as near as you can get to the same number of feather pieces. What are these called? You want them to the same number and not having one larger than the next. So you're going to come in and you continue to work these a bit. This is probably one of the more, just getting all the pieces, getting your hands to work correctly. And you can see I've got the two pieces. I'm trying not to separate them, but one's larger than the next. So you want to continue to work them where they're the same number of feather pieces. Again, I don't know the correct term. Fibers, and you want to get them to as close as you can. Now, the tough part is you don't want to overhandle, because the moisture already in the oils in them, and you want them to stay. So with the different patterns, and again, coming back on this, I'm going to take the dark side of one and I'm going to lay it towards myself. And I'm going to take the dark side of the other side. And so I'm not sure what that, there he is. Show the picture again, John. I need a picture. So I'm taking the dark side in towards the other dark side. I'm going to hold that there. And again, your wrap is very intentional. You can kind of position that. And now I can come in. Some people, not me, can do this all in one fell swoop. They can hold all their feathers together and be able to get them all to lay exactly. Get them anchored in. Might already slid on there. Anybody else tying tonight?
I am. I'm hacking at it.
Okay, go ahead. Jim, let's turn the camera on you, because mine didn't, I'm totally not happy with these.
Hey, Amy,
Yep.
you know, when I married feathers, or I worked with the turkey feathers when I did the Vietnam flag.
Yep.
You recall, when I separated the bars, is that what they call them?
Yeah.
I used an old hat pin with, an old pin, and basically divided the bars, and it worked quite well.
That's what I use my magnifiers for, and I actually count the barbs when I split them.
Yeah, I do too.
Yep.
And then I take and divide or separate.
Yeah, and Amy, if they do separate, you can just stroke them back together, because the barbules are actually connected to each other, very much like what do they call that stuff that you can stick together?
Velcro.
Velcro. Yeah, they're very much like Velcro. And that's
Yeah,
the
they
way
do
you
have-
marry them. Yeah, that's the technique of marrying feathers together. You just have to make sure they come from the same side of the feather. And they will
Right.
just zip together like a zipper.
So I'm not totally thrilled with mine. We'll go this way, but I'm gonna go. So how's the picture look if I go forward with them? Because that's what I know how to do. But okay, Jim had his camera on and he's got his magnifiers on and everything else. Jim, do you have a camera up? Or something you can, because I'm not.
Amy, can I make a suggestion on those?
100%. Yes.
Okay, instead of holding it in the back like that, where you're holding, supporting it, hold the fly, the forward part with your finger like that, and take, the other hand, hold it and put your thumb and press down on it. It will keep it together like that. Press, and then put really very light loops. Yeah.
Ooh, I like that better. Okay. So we're kind of doing the Charlie Craven's right brain, left brain thing.
Well,
Right?
I don't know if you have to have a brain to do this because sometimes it doesn't work.
I'm sorry, I'm moving around. I'm holding the camera in my hand. So
then you just position it back through,
yeah.
correct? Okay. So, well, I'm sure that on my next one, I'm gonna end up coming in on the camera. So
Yeah, I'm not sure that my wings look any better than yours, so.
it's the most difficult to me. I find this the most difficult, yet I can do them to stand up. When I do a traditional, like a dry fly, I can get them to stand up great. This part of it where I'm trying not to have anything separate, I'm gonna try it.
I think your wings are too fat, Amy. If you look at the picture, his wings are fairly thin.
Yeah,
Well, darn him anyway. Okay.
Probably it looks to me like, I would say he's using 10 barbs on the feather.
I just dropped the one that I was working on. Damn it. Okay. So he's using like 10 total, John?
Yeah, that whole thing is only about, I'd say that thing is less than 3/16 of an inch wide.
All right, you all and your wet flies. You can
See,
teach
I
bulldogs.
threw something at you that you were having difficulty with. That's a good thing.
It's all great.
Yeah.
Hate you. I'll be calling you tomorrow.
I'll tell you what, I spent the whole day struggling trying to marry a red, white, and blue feathers together, and I feel the same way about Walt tonight.
See, I've already gone through more than an inch of turkey feathers. So sorry for everybody else who's on here and watching this. I mean, we should have done this as like the takeouts for this. You can stop recording anytime, Mick.
why? I'm enjoying this.
I'm up to entertained. All right, so I have
Any
12.
fly can be a wet fly if you use it for fishing.
Well, Les, thank you. See, I can tie this as a dry fly, and then I can just sink it, and therefore I have a wet fly, right?
Well, I'll be honest with you. The reason I wanted to tie this fly had absolutely nothing to do with fishing.
Well, I notice how you're tying, John. You're showing us a picture of the book.
Hey, my mama didn't raise no dumb children. No, I wanted to tie this fly so my wife could make earrings.
Okay, well, I don't know. I think streamers work better for earrings, but we'll.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to the. I went to the other side of the turkey feather now. We're going to try this one more time. And if not, we're going to tie it the way I looked up in on the interweb, we're gonna go with what I found when it
Okay.
says, when you type in Ray Bergman blue dun, or yeah, blue dun. Cause it's a dry fly. I was so excited.
You know, you
Who
could
else is-
use duck feather versus a mallard feather versus a turkey, and it might be a little better.
Yeah, duck feathers are a lot easier to work with than turkey.
Yes.
Well, I got a whole bin of those. All right, so
That
I'm
looks
going
right.
at this.
There you go.
I'm going at this one more time. I'm holding it. Is that like the positioning so you come
Amy,
out?
I would pull it back towards the rear, make it a little longer.
It
Yes,
should go almost to the end of the tail.
Good.
Yeah.
wrap it real loose, and then take the other one and put it on and wrap it real loose, and then give a couple tight ones.
Well, then you're going opposite to opposite when we talk about marrying, like the dark side's here, and then, but I wanted to go the same angle, correct?
Right.
Oh,
Actually,
you mean the fit?
the curve should go, both of them should point inward toward the center of the body.
Yep. I think I have that, so it doesn't matter as far as it's not like face to face, back to back. It's
No,
actually,
no.
okay.
Do it real loose, real loose. Two wraps, and then do a tight one.
Both of them dropped below where I want them to. Dang it. Okay. No, still not happy with it. All right.
I got-
So-
I got,
Amy, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Go to Feathercraft and buy one.
There you go.
Right.
They sell
That's it, Walt. Okay.
So Amy, you want me to give it a try? I finally got the camera set up.
I think it's
Yes,
time for
please.
this tool.
Yes. No, because I'm not done with it because it's still a good dry fly. Yes, please, Jim, let's switch over to you.
Okay, so. yeah.
Oh, show off. Show off. Look at how pretty he made that.
Well, first of all, I'm using mallard feathers. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not,
It does.
but basically I'm using the exact same technique that you were using. And so they're a little long right now, so I'm going to shorten them up. But it's the same thing. I'm going to tie them in one at a time. Tie one in on the close side, just kind of tighten it down, hold it in place. And then I'll tie one on the far side, try to match it. And again, just tighten it down. And then cut the excess off in the front here. Get my Magners on. But anyway, I mean, that's basically it. They're probably not the prettiest wings, but that's the basic concept. And then in my Ray Bergman book, it has a picture that's a little bit different than what John had. And it just shows like a beard underneath. And where's my, I just take some, so I did the tail with a dry fly hackle, and I do the beard the same thing. And, let's see, I think we're too close here. So I'm, yeah, can't see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm just going to pull some fibers off here. And put them underneath. And again, we're going to tie that in. And cut that off. So it's got the beard, it's got the tail, it's got the wings. I just used super fine dubbing. Then make a head, and that's about it. There's really nothing to these wet flies. It is kind of a pain in the neck doing the wings, but do a few of them and they start coming out much better. So that's all I got.
Anybody
You gotta
else?
take- You gotta take your hat off to the old fly tires that would do these and make them and do them in production.
Yeah. Oh, you always do. You should always do them in production. Always tie at least a dozen.
Yeah, I'm thinking I won't have a vice left if I tie this one in by the dozens. Yeah. I'm still, I like using the feathers. I was just doing that. I'm just messing with a couple different ways that I'm like, okay, wait, this shouldn't be this hard. But, and I like the top section of the feather, like what you were using, Jim. I don't like the back ends of it because it's too long for what I want, but that was great. I appreciate you jumping in to the rescue there. Anybody else tying? Come on, we can all just laugh with you.
Got on a little late, Amy, because I was having some computer problems. So I just decided that was me that was causing all the havoc. I guess I opened up 2 programs and didn't know I did that. So sorry about
That's all
that.
right.
But
It's all
anyway,
good, Carl. We're glad to have you. Show us how it's done.
playing with it.
It is. It's like everything wants to go opposite in my fingers of how I have it. It's, I can wrap on wet hackles, but this kind of thing with the wing part of it, it's a challenge. By next week, I'm gonna
It's
be
much
sending.
easier to do a soft hackle wet fly than it is to do one
Yeah.
of the traditional flies. These are hard, and I've tried. I played all day long and I couldn't get it the way I wanted it to. So I didn't set up my camera or anything. So therefore I didn't have to worry about demonstrating tonight.
This was purely a trap. This was just purely a trap then. Okay, well, at least, and I think as we've all seen too, as far as you can make a lot of different things from this, but takes a lot of patience on this because I'm going, come on, and then right when you have it where you want it, and then it still just doesn't, just not 100% thrilled with it. But I love it on the tradition part of it. I love it because you look at it, go, who thought of that? I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
But mine, when I switch back over, mine looks like a soft hackle that I didn't wrap. Well, I mean, because I was tying along again, and it's something where, but they didn't stay together to make that really
Yeah.
pretty wing.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's turning into a dry fly because that's the hook I used. So that's what I'm going with.
I tied a few of them today, and like I say, and they all wound up in the to be used at a later date box.
Yep.
This is one of them I tied for a hat pin.
Okay, well, why aren't you showing us that part of it then? Because, that's what we were just struggling with. Well, I'm going to show a little other because again,
Could you put that back up, Walt, please? Could you put that back up, Walt? Let me see that again.
Yeah, I was enjoying watching you do it, Amy.
I know, it's fun. You guys can all laugh at me.
Okay, and how, you married those fibers together using the marrying technique?
Yes.
Okay,
And, you know, this is the original one that I married. Hang on. This is turkey feathers, which are a lot harder than marriage. It took me, when coronavirus came out, it took me that long to do this.
how wide is that? How wide is that?
That is about a half inch, maybe.
Yeah, how do you tie that on a hook?
I've been trying to figure it out.
I'll tell you, use a size double aught hook.
There you go.
No, I'm serious. I've talked to some people that do salmon flies, and they just kind of, you know, they tell me what to do. They said to grab it with your right hand and push down with your left hand and then tie it. But I don't know how you tie it when you're holding it down with both
Yeah.
hands,
Yeah.
you know. And they said to tie it very loosely twice, and then but the turkey feathers break apart. I think duck feathers or maybe even a goose feather would work better.
Yeah, I don't think the turkey feather has the same kind of barbules on it that duck
They
feathers do.
do. They have the same barb,
Do
but
they?
they're so wide they break apart.
Okay,
If you know what I mean.
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So I think I have all kinds of duck feathers, but they're natural colors. And,
Yeah, I just ordered some from Stockers today in red, white, and blue. So I'm going to try and do a red, white, and blue classic wet fly for next week, so I can show you.
yeah. Well,
See,
the hat pin is simple, but what I did was on the shaft of the hook, I measured the Vietnam ribbon and I tied it in as if you were doing a wrap for the a rod.
yeah,
You know, and I secured it, and then from there I went on to the marriage of the turkey feathers,
okay.
which wasn't really that difficult as long as you just have to have a little bit of patience and a big book to press down on it, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to have to perfect my technique of marrying because I haven't perfected that yet.
Well, it just takes a lot of time to do it. It's
Yeah.
a lot of patience. Talking about books, Amy, I've
Yes.
read my little red book twice. And
Don't you love that book?
I do, and I'm starting to read it again. It's just there's so many little things that you can pick up that you might have bad habits on. So if
Well, in
anybody-
between that, and it actually gets you laughing out loud at a couple things because yeah, the different stories. So I'm showing you my cheat on this. So I pulled out one of my saddles and I went for some of the side versions on this as far as the colors. Grab two like feathers. Yeah, I'll figure you guys out yet. So I'm gonna come in almost same technique on this. It's still it splays out a little bit too much from, but I'm like, oh, but that might work. And then again, and it's in and you can reposition pretty much like how you would also do your forward facing with wings. And again, you can measure that to the tail length, and then another one on the other side. I can't get the technique that Walt was saying as far as like hold it with the right hand and come over, pinch those in tight. And I'm sure the camera is not doing it, but they're actually more separated than they just splay apart too much. It's not the same as obviously the first picture on there, but you could use other feathers on here that still create that kind of, it doesn't have the nice dome like what when Jim showed his on there, but other feathers are an option, or you can just pull them out and redo it. So that's the other thing too. If you don't like it, it's like a magic trick. You can just like redo it. So and the other thing, we all have our little stacks of piles of our hackle feathers and things, and I'm not going to use these necessarily, but you could tie these in and again, do some forward facing. These are much easier to work with, in my opinion. Obviously, I haven't spent enough time on turkey, or some of those. And I have yellow and I have that natural one too. But anybody have any thoughts or questions on this? This was painful. So if anybody else has any thoughts on how to tackle some of these, because you go in and I mean a lot of patterns call for turkey, and or kind of a lot of different variations on feathers, but trying to figure out what you work with and how you work with it. So anybody else have any thoughts, comments?
Hey,
Opinions?
Amy, can you meet me down on 44 and 270 tomorrow? I have some different color thread I did.
Everybody sitting there kind of going, don't do it, Amy. Don't do
wife
it.
know
No.
about this,
No, Walt, no. Oh, wait, where's my meeting? I am actually booked from morning through, and but I could probably meet you on Saturday morning at
No, I'm
44 and
joking.
270.
I'm joking about the thread. You're using white thread, and I don't even know if you have any other color than white.
Take some Sharpie to the rest of them.
Well, what can I say, Amy? I'm not the only one.
Hang on, because you all.
Oh my God. Oh my God, are you kidding?
Okay, wait, that's just one.
So anyway, I still think it's probably a lot easier with a mallard feather than it is with a turkey feather. I mean, the barbels are much smaller and it's kind of softer, and it went on there pretty easily. Just a matter of right at the beginning trying to match them and then tying them on. They went on there pretty well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jim.
I had tied some, and I don't remember exactly what pattern it was, but it was basically a peacock body with wings like that. And I used turkey feathers, and I never got them to look good. And when I fished them, I didn't like the way they fished. I mean, something about those turkey feathers, I can't remember what it was. It floated rather than whatever. It didn't act right in the water. So I think maybe the key is just to use mallard feathers or something other than the turkey.
Yeah,
One
the
thing
only
that
thing the pattern in the book says is just blue-gray. So my
Yeah.
guess is they used blue-gray duck feathers to do it.
Well, in the fly tying magazine for this quarter, they were talking about using the duck feathers to make.
Yeah. So this is what I'm using here. There, like I say, it's a whole mallard wing. And I bought these years and years ago. I believe I bought them specifically to tie flies like this. So
Yeah, because they're quite specific. They have to be matched pairs of wing feathers.
yeah.
that's
like
my
that. I
attempt
just-
at it.
There you go, Carl.
I did the same thing what you were talking about. I got my old mallard wings out from some of my hunting buddies they gave me years ago, and I've used that to kind of match up, what I've to do it. And I don't know, I threw some mothballs in there a long time ago with it, and I use them on occasion. It's not something I do. On the turkey feathers, one of the tricks that an older gentleman taught me many years ago on, especially like doing the turkey feathers for like the wing casings. He would take the Sally, whatever nail polish or the clear nail polish, and he would paint the whole feather.
Oh. Okay.
And then and he'd let it dry, and then he would just cut and trim them and make himself his backs for like on his hare's ear nymphs. That was a pretty common one. It was very old school as far as, you know, doing the backs on it, but it would add some flexibility to it. Like if you were, especially if you're making like a stone fly where you could fold it back and forth. And then he would just, we didn't have this fancy dancy resin hardeners that we UV lights. He would just take some of that clear nail polish and just paint the top of it, call it good. So
You're talking about painting the end of the, you know, towards the quill? That
Yeah.
feather?
yeah, just paint the feather like this.
Where the head would be,
Right.
yeah.
Just go down and paint it. And
I'm just trying that now, Carl.
I'll do a little bit of that here too.
Yeah, I
Me-
remember when I first started in fly tying lessons, and I don't even remember what the pattern was, but we were using turkey tail feathers, I believe. And they had suggested that you paint them with Dave's Flex Cement. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's a, you know, it's a kind of like a rubber cement that you would use for, you can use it for a head cement or whatever.
That's like old school. I still have an old bottle of it, Jim,
Yeah, there you
from
go.
my dad. From my dad. Yep. And I mean, this thing, it lasts you, but yeah, it's from Rainey's, but it's now this thing's all whole, you know, white and everything else. But I still have it up on my. When you just said that, I'm like, I know what that is.
There you go.
But I tried with what Walt was just talking about, and it dries pretty. It's kind of interesting. I think that might. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I just did it with the not the whole hard as nails. I did the one that is a top coat. That's for Sally Hansen's. It's a top coat, and it actually doesn't make any shine. The smell of it is strong.
Yeah,
So I always hesitate on some of those with the different, because all of a sudden I'm like, if I can smell it, I think fish can smell it, but I don't use a lot of head cement stuff. So, well, everybody, that was fun and exciting. Anybody else want to pick a different pattern for next week?
Well, there's a different one right there. I
Hey,
did it with
I
Hungarian
got
parsnip
a
feathers.
really good request here, Amy.
Okay.
So, have you guys ever read the book by John Girac, Good Flies?
Nope.
It was written in
Nope.
like, I think about 2000. And I've had the book for about 20 years, and I read it a long time ago. And I was digging through some old stuff here last week, and I found it, and I said, I think I'll reread this book and see if I have a different perspective on it than when I read it 20 years ago. And he talks about a lot of it. He's kind of got a little bit of a Mark Twain theme in his writing to some degree. It's pretty entertaining from a fly fishing person's standpoint. But he's got a lot of old flies in there, and that are really cool. Now I've not tried to tie some of them, but he brings up a lot of older names in there that you don't hear about anymore. I mean, Tom Rosenbauer is still around. He's been around a long time. And then there was another guy from Montana. I can't remember his name off the top of my head that he brought up. But anyway, he talks about, you know, all the mayflies and why he does them. And a lot of most I haven't got to where he's talked about nymphs and stuff, but there's some pretty cool flies on there to attempt to tie, you know, some parachute wing patterns that he does. So
What's the name of the book again, Carl?
It's called Good Flies, and Good Flies by John Girach. And I think it's Girach, something like that. I've got it upstairs. I didn't bring it down with me. I'll go get it real
Well,
quick.
And one of the things too, I think too, and I don't know how many folks here get the Missouri Department of Conservation. And it was funny because after my daughter didn't live here anymore, all of a sudden her Explore, which is the youth version of Missouri Department of Conservation, their magazine. So that came out this week. And it was funny because I actually got a call saying, hey, what about caddis? Are caddis good? And I started laughing. I'm like, yeah, that's my go-to. But it actually had the whole emerger cycle of that. And I think that would be pretty cool if we could do something where we kind of go around the horn, everybody pick what part of that fly they're doing, and we show that on the emerger style too. Just as far as what happens with them, how does it all transform? Because I think when you hear a mayfly, you don't understand it starts under the water, or how the different parts of it all play into what we're looking at entomology wise. So that might be something else between the combination on this. But I like that idea. I wrote it down, Carl, and I think it's definitely. I think we can go on kind of a little bit more on the entomology side of what does it turn into, and what are you working with?
Yeah,
when you're at the
well,
water?
that's a good point, Amy, because one of the things that he brought up that I've not been much of an entomologist in my fly fishing. I've grown up knowing there were different things. Like John Girach mentioned at the very beginning of the book, like one of the first flies he learned how to tie that most people did way back in the 60s was a mosquito. And he would show people that didn't know what fly fishing was about, and they'd show them a real mosquito fly, and they go, oh yeah, that looks like a real mosquito. And he would say, well, anybody that knows that it doesn't look like a mosquito. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of his mannerisms that come across in the book. But he goes through that, like I'm in the mayfly section of the book right now. So he talks about small mayflies, medium mayflies, and large mayflies. Well, I never have given it much credit how many different species of mayflies there are. And, of course, a lot of it, we fish mayfly patterns because that's what works, or that, like a blue wing olive or something like that kind of works in our area. But when I was up in Michigan a couple of years ago, they have that big hex fly hatch.
Oh.
And that's a mayfly too. And that cotton picking thing's 3 inches long,
That was the one, Mick. Do you remember when I pulled it out of my fly box and Margie's like, I like that one.
Yeah.
That was that hex fly. And because it has that big, huge tail off the end, they're the most amazing. And they're not as creepy as stone flies landing on you.
Amy,
That's
hey, Amy,
yeah.
can you see my picture?
Oh, look at you.
I just tied that.
Fancy.
I found the answer.
Uh-oh.
The answer is to use, let me find here it is. This is a feather that I got. This was given to me by a friend of mine. And he actually shot the turkey that this feather belonged to. And this is, notice how straight the fibers are.
Yep.
What I found is that I just cut it really thin, and that fly, the wings on that guy are about 3/16 of an inch, a little over 1/8 of an inch wide. And they went on real easy using the standard way of, holding it with your left hand and tying them in. I think, Walt, you're right. If you got a really wide fly, you hold it in your right and do loose wraps. But for something that's this small, I think you can get by with just the standard way we tie in wings. So
That's very
just so you
cool. I
didn't
don't
feel
know
that
that.
I was just so you didn't feel I was putting you out there on a branch all by yourself and giving you a saw to cut it off with. Okay.
I'm actually just quite fine with that. But yeah, I mean, and mostly just we've all seen it, right? There's something that just gets, and I had to laugh when you did a couple weeks ago and Mike Kelly was tying, and I'm like, oh, And he's like, my favorite thing ever to use is peacock. And I'm thinking, I don't like peacock, but he
Yeah.
did have some great techniques on it. And I think part of it is figuring out how to get through some of these materials, because it's you have to like what you tie. And if you sit down and you're just kind of dreading it and you're thinking, nope, I'm not gonna, I don't like it. It's taken away some of that question. I think this has been a great just brainstorming of, hey, no, this works. No, this works. It's been fun.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
the
anybody?
only thing is, and I'm not a big feather. I don't have a lot of knowledge on feather, but John, I'm not quite sure. Is that really a turkey, or did that?
Oh, yeah. That's a turkey here. Let me show you the bag that it came out of. Just a second, let me change cameras.
I'm like, dang.
While you're
you
doing
can
this,
save me-
this is a Guide to Aquatic Foods by Dave Whitlock. It's an ancient book,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's got all that stuff that you were just talking about. All the different life cycle.
Well, and I think that would be something too, where again, we try to talk about, well, we do talk about all the time, match the hatch and all the different things too. And I think it's understanding of what, and how many times we've all been there, whether or not it's been at Lane Springs or anything else, you're like, what is this white fly? What is this white? Until it lands on you and it's the most microscopic, tiny mayfly ever. And you're looking going, whoa. Or the little black wing ones on
Here's
caddis.
another one. Another page. There's some good stuff in this.
That's a great book. I
There's
mean,
the
what do you
book.
guys,
Hey, here you go, Amy. Here's some other feathers that I really like.
Pull them back.
You getting the colors off of those?
a little bit,
Not
but
really
it's kind
showing.
of
There
more
we go.
black and gray.
Yeah, no, it's actually, it almost looks like, the colors look like peacock herl.
Yeah,
Wow.
And it really has got some fantastic ability to it. So, yeah, I got, he gave me both wings. So I've got more feathers than I'll use in a lifetime. And in fact, your lifetime, my lifetime, and everybody else's probably.
hey, Amy,
Yep.
here's the book.
Oh, okay.
Oh, John
GIER.
Gira.
Here you go. There's this book.
So anyway, that's the book. Here's those, this is a hex fly.
And signed.
This is a hex fly that we were fishing up in Michigan. It's a
Those are-
size 6 hook.
That's my world. See? And John's shaking his head. I'm like, that's my world.
No, I'm not shaking my head. I'm telling you, after your story about that monster that got away, of course, the big one's always get away. I'm relooking things. In fact, let me change something here just a second. I don't know if you can see that. See that right there?
Yeah,
You see what those are, don't you?
they're big hooks. They
Those are
don't fit
big
in your
hooks.
10. I was gonna say they don't fit on your Tenkara.
No, they won't. But I've had those for probably the better part of 40 years and I've never tied a fly on them. But after your discussion, and I need to start thinking about reticulated flies too for northerns in this part of the country. So
Between that and I mean, even just for if you want to switch over and do like your hopper droppers, just load that with your foam, like tie your foam on almost like you would with dubbing, and those will stay up on you all day, John. Those,
Yeah,
and
the
it's
only-
not that if you've ever used an indicator, then you can fish a hopper dropper.
yeah.
An
It's just, it
indicator.
is,
Now the only question is, how am I going to cast a number that big a hook on a Tenkara rod?
so
Yeah.
you just like,
Yeah.
you
Just throw it out there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you just flip it out there, don't you?
Well, I don't know, but you know what? I think I'm going to learn how to do that. I'm going to give that a try here as soon as ice out.
All right, so I've been messing around with this. Hang on, I didn't finish all of it, but I will put this on here just so you guys know I don't stink all the time. Here you go.
Nobody thinks that, Amy.
No.
Look at
absolutely not.
hello. I didn't cut off this and I didn't do anything to the back portion of it.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
There.
know. I
See,
got
it's not
it.
that
I'm
hard.
oh, well, yeah, it was, but by the way. So I took a combination of everybody's advice. I did stay with the turkey, but I did do the Sally Hansen's on here. And that was a world of difference because it gave it something that I could work with and it wouldn't fall apart between. Not sure I'm sold on it. And of course I didn't cut off the head or do anything yet. But I did the quick dry one and I just did some real light brushes on here. And then I separated it out after I had done that. So I actually did some, then came back to it and then just pulled it apart and these are big. This has probably, I don't know, 7 or 8, 9 barbules
that's-
per
But that looks really
side.
good. You know,
So,
Walt,
but
that might be the way, Walt, to use the, to secure your married feathers. Once you get them all married up, hit them with some Sally Hansen's and then try to tie them on.
But they stay, and I mean, you can tell it works with it, and they're not coming apart right now.
I like it.
So-
I like it.
So
The problem with putting all that on these colored turkey feathers, I found out that it runs, the colors run.
go with the instant dry. It's not supposed to. Well, it's a quick dry one, but it's different than the Sally Hansen's because if you're using Sally Hansen's, it's a different component to it. So this is the regular one that comes in Sally Hansen's. This quick dry, it does not seem to, because I can use this over Sharpies and it doesn't make them. I've
So
got
where-
one yellow.
Where do
I've
you
got a
get
yellow-
it? Is that like at Walmart?
Oh yeah, Walmart, Walgreens, anything. And just again, it's like a flatter one. So you don't want the one that looks like a cylinder. See how different they are?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Amazon carries it too, Walt.
Yeah.
Who does-
Walgreens, Walmart.
Yeah.
What's great, so here's a yellow one, and what I found is it does not run, and it has a little bit less of an odor. It's gonna make it darker, of course, when you put it on, and so that's the part where you might be a little bit leery, like you don't like the color of it, because that yellow is significantly different,
Yeah,
and it's gonna dry darker, so it might be worth something. And usually, like, I don't know, they're under $3, but don't go cheap. Sally Hansen's is the only way to go. All right, so we have some great ideas for next week, and obviously everybody's well read. So what do you guys want to do? You want to go around the horn and just everybody pick a stage of, and let's pick something like a caddis or a mayfly, or what do you guys want to do on that? I think it's a great topic. I think
Yep.
it actually helps a
Tenkara
lot.
I want to do a Tenkara fly.
Okay. Are there phases of Tenkara flies?
No,
I didn't think so.
no.
It's like-
Amy, I would like to do the portion of the adult fly when it gets on your neck and you smash it.
Oh, gee
That's
whiz.
what I would like to do.
Okay, so you're the very last one, as we call it done. Okay, so you're the last one. So what do you guys, I mean, you think I could always learn more about the different stages of flies?
Yep.
Terry's deep in thought. You can see him with his book already.
I
Look at
got my
him
book.
shaking his head. Look at him shaking his head going.
I'll do
"Look at
my
that."
book.
Well, you got to remember now, not all the flies that we tie and use have the same stages of the life cycle. Some have 4 stages and some have 3.
See, we could drag this out for weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see somebody tie a caddis egg pattern. That's what I want to see.
Caddis egg.
They're pretty
Yeah,
small.
caddis egg pattern. That's what I want to see.
don't
Jim,
know.
yeah,
I
I
wanna
see you
do the-
laughing out there, Jim. Have you ever seen a caddis egg?
I never have.
Neither have I.
This
fish.
is gonna take about a size 122 size hook to do that.
Yeah, so I guess we have to limit it to pupa, larva, and adult.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to take a insect or two, you know?
All right, somebody draw a straw. Let's start with caddis next week.
Caddis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because caddis is just cool. I mean, just all the different, Jim, you spoke up first. What do you want on a caddis pupus cycle? I can't even say that. Yeah, you guys say it 10 times fast.
So I guess I'm not quite understanding where we're going with this.
We'll show like the life cycle. We'll just go around the we'll go around the horn. Like you start with the first cycle or whichever cycle you pick. And then we'll go to the next cycle on a fly and then the last cycle of the fly.
Okay, so what you're talking about is tying a fly that represents that whatever, that stage of.
caddis. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
So
hey,
if
I'll
we
be more than happy to
if we
take an
pick-
adult. I'll do an adult caddis.
okay, so you have an adult.
I'll do a nymph.
Okay, so Carl's doing a nymph.
A nymph is not a member of the life cycle.
A nymph isn't?
Pupa, larva, or adult.
I'll
Which
do a
one is
pupa.
which one is a nymph?
Okay, technical person. Pupa.
Okay, we're going with the pupa. Okay, Carl's got a pupa. All
Larva.
right. Mick,
How
you're
about
doing a
emerger?
larva?
Who's gonna do?
Yeah, I'll do the
emerger?
larva.
Wouldn't the larva be a midge?
I guess we'll see next week, won't we? You'll
Yeah.
have to
No, a
tune
midge
in.
is a type of insect.
So, John, since you have the encyclopedia in front of you, do we only have 3 stages to a caddis, or are there 4?
Well, there could be 4 if you consider the emerger as a stage, but that's more of a fly type than anything. So for a caddis, you've got the larva, the pupa, and the adult mayfly. But then you've
That
got
cover
two-
it free.
then you got 2 stages of adults. You've got the dun and the spinner. So, and they are actually different stages of adulthood. They actually change their shape between the dun stage and the adult spinner stage.
So I know mayflies have adults, whatever, duns and spinners, but do caddis have duns and spinners?
Now, I don't know. I just assumed they did. Oh God, you're gonna
Well-
make me get my
I don't-
my book out.
I don't think they do.
I think you're right. They may not. I think I
Dave
got it
Whitlock
confused.
shows 12 portions of the caddis life cycle.
Really? Let me see that. Just a second. I'm gonna highlight you here. Just a minute.
Yep, I'm gonna pin you.
Now I gotta put on my glasses.
Caddis.
Oh my.
Life cycle.
Oh my. That's cool. What's the name of that book? Guide to Aquatic. I'm gonna have to get me that book.
Oh, this is an ancient book. You'll have to go on eBay most likely.
Yeah, Dave Whitlock. I think I
This
got 1 or
is-
2 of his.
Hey, this is a signed edition. And look at this drawing he did. October 2nd, 1999. Here you go.
Oh, that's beautiful.
There it is.
Wow.
That's beautiful. Wow. Cool.
All right. So it sounds like, if I'm reading correctly, so we're going to cover 3, maybe 4 stages of a caddis. We're not doing all 12, unless you guys want to carry this for weeks. But we have the larvae, so that's going to be Mick. Pupa is going to be Carl, and then the adult caddis from Jim. Correct?
Correct.
Good.
Works for me.
Okay.
Got it.
All right.
Got it.
Well, and I think that'll, and plus again, we can kind of move it around the horn and see, and then I think, we can kind of base some different, I don't know, the next week mayfly, because what we run into is people say, what are you fishing with? Right? We hear that all the time. Oh, caddis. Well, obviously caddis can be 12 from Terry's book. But I think that helps also as far as recognizing, oh, okay, what part of a caddis, and then we know what we're looking at in a fly box too. So that's great. I love it. And I think it's part of the education that could help everyone too. So
Yeah.
appreciate everybody's input. This was fun.
So you talk about asking people what they're fishing on the trout streams. When I first started trying to learn how to fish for trout, I went to the trout parks, and people around me are catching fish. I'm not catching anything. And I would go up to them and I'd ask them, so what are you catching them on? And this must have happened at least a half a dozen times. Oh, I'm catching them on a nymph. I don't know what a nymph is. I says, can I see what you're throwing? They'd pull up their hook and they're fishing glow balls.
Oh,
They're telling me they're fishing nymphs.
We're
I had
gonna
a similar
change your,
experience. I had similar
We're gonna
experiences,
change
Jim,
your-
except they said they were fishing red hackle blue herons or royal wolf or something like that. And I said, could I see that, please? And it didn't do me any good at all because I was not a fly tyer in those days. So yeah, and back in those days we didn't have cell phones we could take instant pictures of and record people's words. So yeah, it's in the old days it was hard getting into this game. It was hard.
yeah. And I think, and especially for anybody even newer coming in, because again, we tend to, oh, what are you fishing? BWO. Well, what the heck's a BWO?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we heard that before? And you look, and especially somebody coming in new, and you just don't, it is difficult from that side of it. And so it's kind of like, oh, what's working? For me, hands down. And when people ask and they're like, what are you fishing? I am truly fishing a caddis. It's just a variation on what style caddis that is. But it is something where I think the process on trying to figure out what you're looking at, I'm excited about this. This is really cool. And I
When I
will
first started-
end all this because I can hear upstairs that I have chicken wings. Finally, the barbecue grill is going tonight. The charcoal grill, because I don't even know what the temperature is, but it's yay.
Nice.
Right here, 60
know.
degrees today in Omaha.
I know. So wait, I'll finish it on this. So
Oh, nice. There it is.
you can teach old dogs new tricks.
There you go.
good job, Amy.
There you go.
Well,
Charles,
but
can
it
you
has
stick
no
around
tail.
for a little bit, please?
Yes, John.
It has
You.
It has no tail, no dubbing, no nothing to it. I only wanted to try to make sure I got the wings done, but I appreciate everybody's input tonight. This was fun, and
Yep.
and again, if I'm willing to be the guinea pig all the time just to kind of learn and talk through this stuff. So great ideas, and I will attempt
is
to
any-
remember.
Is anybody
To send
fishing
out-
this week? We're talking about fishing. Is anybody fishing this week?
I am.
Where you
Maybe.
going?
What?
Going.
I'm going to
Yeah,
my
I am.
board.
I'm going up to the verdigris with my my financial advisor.
No, is this the one where somebody
gonna talk
comes,
about-
somebody doesn't come back?
No, we're going to talk about why the stock market's crashing. I think that has something to do with a word called Ukraine.
Yep.
Oof. On that note, I'll see you all. I have wings calling. So thanks for a great week, and I will see you guys next Monday, if
Right
not
lines,
before.
Bye.
Okay, see you next
See
week.
ya.
Stay on a minute.
Thanks a lot, Mick.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mick.
You're welcome.
Mick, can you leave it open for just a minute? I want to talk to Charles.
Yep, that's open.
Okay.
Okay.
Charles, you there?
Yes, John, I am.
when you got time, could you give me a call or give me an email and let me know when we can set up a Zoom call with Larry Dostal and Mike Kelly about the GPBFI?
Absolutely.
How are you feeling?
Do you have a few minutes right now?
Huh?
John, do you have a few minutes right now?
Yeah, but I don't want to keep Mick.
Okay. You
Oh, he
call
said
me. when
that's
you-
okay. So go ahead.
Yeah, go for it. I'm just tying. We're good.
Go ahead, Charles. What do you got?
All right, call me on the phone, John.
Okay,
Thank you.
just a second.
No problem.